Welcome back to the Business and Banter Podcast. My name is Hunley. I'm a car part reseller from Scotland. With me, as always, is Sam from Australia. And today we have something very special. We've got some guests on. We have Johnny and Mike. They're from the Reseller Mindset Podcast. You might know Mike as the used book guy as well. He's on Instagram too. We'll link them down below so you can go catch up with them. They have a great podcast. We've had a lot of fun listening to and just getting to know them a bit more. So I'm going to hand over to you guys. Just a quick introduction, who you are, what you do, where you're from, and we'll get into it.
Johnny, go first.
Why? Fine. I'm Johnny B. the Book Shepherd. I sell both on eBay and Amazon in a very small town you've never heard of inside of Texas. I'm a co-host. I don't run it. That's Mike's job. I'm a co-host on Mike's podcast over on the Used Book Guy channel on YouTube. And it's just like it sounds. Your turn, Mike.
I love the YouTube channel. YouTube did it for me, but yeah, I've been on YouTube for about 5 years now. Full time, as in the income I make is full time reselling media on Amazon. I do have an eBay store. They take $4.95 a month, and I have 0 items listed. I take pride in my miserable eBay store, but yeah, I'm 99.9% Amazon. And yeah, I'm excited to be on the podcast. I said before we started recording, I don't listen to many podcasts, but you two have a great podcast. I'm always into people that get results and talk business sense. And I just said my eBay sucks, so why in the world would I listen to you two in a podcast? Because the business sense you can get from a podcast, you don't have to just listen to it because you sell on eBay or Amazon.
You guys also have a group, I think, where you do weekly calls.
Yes, we it's through the YouTube channel. Shameless plug, $2.99 a month. We got weekly calls. Johnny hosts an eBay call over there. He's on a lot of the calls with me because, once upon a time he was heavy into eBay, and it's a fun little group. It's always good to be around like-minded people. I know you are all over in text group, Reseller Greatness, and you can't put enough value of being around people that have the same kind of goals, not necessarily the same goal as you, but they want to get results from having a reselling business. And there's a lot of resellers out there that don't treat it like a business. So when you can get around folks like, us four sitting here today, it's worth its weight in gold.
There you go, folks. For $2.99 a month, you can get yelled at by Johnny once a week.
Yes,
it does spark a lot of productivity. It's fab. I've had the privilege of having that experience before. It's great. Very motivating. But you guys do really well on Amazon. Obviously, we do eBay, but you guys do Amazon, which is one of the things I find the most fascinating about your podcast and your business, because like Mike says, still a lot of what you say translates to any business. Like when I listen to your podcast, I can take so much away from my business as well, even though it's a completely different podcast. But I was interested to know, just quick in summary, why Amazon and not eBay?
Go ahead, You're going to go first for all of the questions that they throw at us.
So we're establishing the ground rules. Got it.
Yes.
So now that we are in rule land, the sell-through rate's just better in at least the U.S. For my chosen niche, which is books, and which is now books and disc media. It's just the amount of volume I can do in a single day. I cannot compare to eBay. It's slower. Just the workload is much faster on Amazon. And when you're dealing in media, it's very much a volume game because, at least in books, it's long tail. But if you're able to do volume long tail, that's fine. Also, Amazon takes a lot of junk that does not work on eBay. So there's, again, more product can go on a single platform. I don't have to worry about lots. Yeah, you can do sets on Amazon, sure, if there's a listing for it. But the people who play that game in media, I think, are foolish and should not do lots. Yep, I said it for the record on this podcast, not our podcast, Mike. Anyway.
I can edit it out, don't worry.
yeah, okay. Just edit that out. It's fine. There is a place for eBay in all of this. I mean, my rule is if it's not Amazonable, it goes to eBay unless it's uneBayable. I forgot to mention I run a bookstore. Then it goes to my bookstore. So there you go.
I took the approach of people that thrift when I started reselling 6-7 years ago. It was almost looked like it was a job, right? Some of these people would sit at the stores, and you still see it today. They just go to the Goodwill bins. They sit there all day. They go to one thrift store. They sit there all day, wait for them to wheel out new stuff. I wanted to try to reinvent the wheel, to say. So I wanted to be the thrift store person, but not work exuberant amounts of hours. So just for numbers' sake here, I work about 20 hours a week. My weekly sales are right around $3,000 on Amazon. So I don't put a lot of time at all into this business. And I think the overall reselling community kind of maybe looks at it a weird way to say that I work part time, but I make the money that I make. And I always challenge everybody with, well, why would you just work just to work, right? And that's what happens. A lot of resellers are like, I work 10 hours a day. And like, I mean, what are you really doing for 10 hours a day? In the Amazon world, there's nothing you can do. It's all software. It's all automated. So Amazon appealed to me because I started on eBay. I was an everything seller. I had the shoes, the VCRs, anything I could flip to sell. And then I kind of got into Amazon. I'm like, wait a minute. We send it to Amazon, so I don't got to store it here because I got cats. As you can see, they've been running around in the back. I don't have a lot of space. My wife's got her embroidery business. She runs out of the apartment. So I can send it to Amazon. They can pack and pick all the orders. I don't have to respond to any customers. They handle all the returns. So it's kind of completely hands off. And that was the big benefit that I seen in Amazon. And that's why I kind of said, all right, well, this seems to be working. And I kind of did away with eBay altogether.
I really find that interesting because obviously Amazon in Australia has only just come in the last couple of years, and we haven't had anything like that prior. eBay actually tried to do an FDA kind of eBay fulfillment center in Australia, and it was so ridiculously expensive that no one I know actually gave it a try, because it would work out to be storage fees of about $7 per item per month, which would then blow out your cost of goods. And then the fulfillment side of things, the shipping would work out to be about $12 to $15 depending on the size of the product. And with Amazon coming to Australia now, I know a few resellers that are actually jumping over from eBay to Amazon to give it a try while it's building up. I would love to hear from both of you about if you were to start again, what you would do differently with Amazon.
Me first. This is Roll.
Yeah, you're always first, Johnny.
Yes. I know how to play this game, and I would probably start cherry picking, because I didn't start cherry picking. I already had the stock here, and I was already in bulk, and I would have gone the cherry pick route before I moved into bulk versus already being knee deep in bulk and having to separate and run two businesses simultaneously. And I don't know if I'd be doing eBay, honestly. A little bit emotionally attached to eBay, and again, there's a place for eBay even as a full-time Amazon seller. There's some stuff that just cannot go to Amazon, and the only other outlet for decent money would be eBay.
Yeah,
but that would come later down the pipeline, and I would start off as a cherry picker and not a volume, already got a warehouse kind of operator.
I'm going relationships 100% from the beginning. I would walk into thrift stores, not have a conversation with anybody. And now I literally have connections at libraries and thrift stores, and you get the stuff before it gets to the sales floor. Like, that is the only path forward for our type of business model. And we talk about it all the time, is you can't just be the thrifter anymore where you go into a thrift store, you don't have conversations. Somebody asks you what you're doing, you say, nothing, leave me alone. Like, I made so much money off of just having a simple conversation. I carry up 100 CDs, and people are like, why are you buying all the CDs? And I'm like, well, I sell CDs on Amazon. I support my family. Then I'm in the back room of that place that's got 20,000 CDs. And I know it sounds like too good to be true, but that's literally all my relationships are just from me having a conversation when I checked out, or sending an email to like a library and being like, hey, I'll buy all your extra stuff you got left over. I would just go with that from day one. In the beginning, though, I was just, whatever, there's enough in the thrift store for me. And nowadays I'm like, I hate going to the thrift store. I'd rather go to one of my relationships. Like, I had a library sale yesterday. You just help set up the library sale. You get to pick everything over before it's open to the public. It's like a cheat code in reselling.
I think that's actually one thing where resellers, even in clothing, give themselves a disservice, is that we try and like keep it private, and therefore we don't build those relationships which do open up so many different avenues for our business.
It's the fear of what you have, they will then have it, and the market's saturated, and there won't be any meat left for you. And I believe that to be untrue, and it is a disservice not only in clothes but all categories, in my opinion.
It's like it's a scarcity mindset almost, like that there's just simply not enough sales to go around. But if you look at just, I don't know for Amazon, but obviously eBay in Australia, the amount of sales that it produces every day, there is enough for so many more people than who are already on the platform.
Right. It's not like this is a traditional job where hundreds of thousands of people are going to list the same item you are. It's not. It's much smaller than that.
But most of the people who are scared about that and who are the ones who don't want to share, or you don't want to talk to anyone, like, they don't realize that none of us are actually even close enough or capable enough or have as much of an impact that we could single-handedly flood or take out an entire sector of the market. Like, I tell one person what I know and all of a sudden my business crashes. That would never happen.
You would have to be an extraordinarily rich and bored person to do that.
Exactly. Like, I think we overestimate the impact we have a little bit sometimes. But I was listening to one of your recent podcasts and you were talking about, I think Mike was talking about how the barrier of entry to Amazon, right? And I was like, why are you attacking me, Mike? Because that's me. Okay, that's me. I'm that person that's like, oh, I actually have an Amazon account. I did the interview, the whole, here's me, sent my paperwork, I got my account. I don't know how to use it. I don't understand the fees. It's a completely different setup than anything I've known on eBay. So what makes sourcing for eBay versus sourcing for Amazon? What's the difference?
You could take more because Amazon will take more. I think eBay is more picky. And the good news, Hunley, for low payment of $2.99, Mike here will teach you everything you need to know. No, I just think you can get more in abundance that is sellable versus eBay. You have to be a bit more choosy, and you need to confirm on both. You do need to confirm that it will indeed sell, not that you buy something and hope it will sell. I just think Amazon takes in more of that.
The big thing here, the eBay versus Amazon. I know nothing about books, right? You could ask me who wrote Alice in Wonderland. I have no idea. Like the most famous book out there, I don't know who writes these things. I just see them as dollar bills, and I know it offends people because I'm the used book guy. You guys all think I care about books. I could care less. I just want the money I make from them. But with eBay, you got to we sell things that have barcodes, right? So with Amazon, there's software. With eBay, you got to pull it out. You got to make sure your volume's all the way up so every other reseller in their thrift store can hear when you scan the item, right? And you go one at a time and you're there for like 30 days versus Amazon, the software, you just got a little Bluetooth scanner. It just sits right on your hand and you can scan literally thousands and thousands of books, CDs, DVDs, any single day you're out. So it allows you to source a lot more items and it gives you the real-time data of like how much you would make after fees when you actually sell it on Amazon.
And for those that don't want to use a Green Lantern ring, you could just use your cell phone.
So what makes a good Amazon item?
It sells.
Yeah, but how quickly? What are you aiming for? Because obviously on Amazon there's storage fees and those type. I don't know exactly
It
how.
sells while it's in transit to the facility. That's the best feeling when it sells before it even arrives. And there's a setting to turn that on or off. It's defaulted as on. So the moment it arrives, it's already sold. It's like people who sell stuff standing in line at the bins. It's already sold before they've even gotten it home. It's already listed and sold. You just have to pack it. But for us, it's already been packed, and my job's done.
The fees are not as scary as they seem from the outside, right? So I'm not sure if Johnny has a roundabout of the number. How much you pay in monthly storage fees for how many books you have sitting at Amazon?
I have 20,000 books, and in long-term storage, currently I'm paying around $550 in long-term. Beyond that, I'm paying around $1,000 for 20,000 items.
So
can you get storage units for $1,000 for 20,000 units? The answer is no, you cannot, unless you have a fun little uncle somewhere.
So
I can, but I live in the middle of nowhere.
Well, there's that.
I can too in Scotland.
So the fees aren't that bad. The way
in
we
the
kind
U.S., they don't work that way.
Yeah. I mean, so the fees aren't as big and scary. But the big thing with Amazon is you always see resellers on Amazon that show off these crazy numbers, right? Like, oh, look, I did $1 million trillion, and you really never get the backside of like how much actually goes into your banking. I say it all the time, like, I don't care what your sales are. Like, do you have actual money that you're putting away and you have readily available to spend? And in the Amazon world, I'll be the first one to admit, as somebody that's in the Amazon space, a lot of it is just smoke and mirrors. You're never really going to get the actual numbers. But in the media world, I can sit here and say 50% is the split. So if we sell 100K, 200K in a year, half of that goes into our bank account. Now, other business models, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, they're all down there between the 10 and 20%. So for us, it's a 50-50 split kind of across the board when we sell an item.
And to be fair, eBay sellers are equally bad about this. Here's what I
Yeah.
got. Everybody talks about sales dollars, not what goes into your bank dollars. No one does that. And I get it. It's a bit personable, but the numbers you're showing us are false.
It's something you discussed in your podcast this week that you released, that essentially that when people are growing, it's like this massive number that looks really, really pretty, but at the end of the day, they could barely be getting by. And I think that that's something that's really common in the reselling space, not just for Amazon, but for eBay. I'm assuming this is the same for Poshmark, Mercari sellers, everything, where people grow themselves into essentially business death.
Yeah. I mean, you got a $20 sale, but if you're only pocketing $2, that's not very good. So doing a $20 sale and getting $10, that's a bit different. And there's all kinds of variables that go in there. And a lot of the numbers that we pay outside of what's reflected in our chosen platform, that's not shown either. Your cost of goods, as for instance, your travel to pay for the cost of goods, taxes.
Yeah, just even lifestyle as well. A lot of people who start making more just inflate their lifestyle, and therefore they never actually save any money either.
Yeah. They buy the car and now they got a loan, and their plus 500 is now negative 800.
Funny. The library, they're like, Mike, you really need to get a truck. And they got a little, like a piece of paper written out that says, Mike does not have a truck, so make sure the boxes are small to fit in his vehicle. I'm like, listen, the 2008 Nissan Altima is paid off. I'm not going to buy a crazy truck just for these one-off, maybe
I'm
once
with
or
the
twice a month
librarians, man.
pickups.
You need a truck. I got a truck. Why don't you got a truck?
Yeah, but you're in Texas, dude. That's like, hillbilly
I mean, yeah,
truck
everybody's
land.
got trucks, but you still need a truck.
Nah, you don't need a truck. I mean, how often do you have these things to justify going to get a
Yeah,
truck?
that's true.
I mean, I'm going to pay out of pocket for it. I'm not going to have a loan. I come off like Dave Ramsey sometimes, and I try not to, but I've been broke. I've been to the point where, like, you got $1 on their credit card, we're going to McDonald's and getting something off the dollar menu, bro. So now that I have money and I don't have debt, like, I just see the possibilities where you don't have to make lots of money reselling. Imagine if you had no debt at all and you were making an extra $3,000 a month reselling. That's literally life-changing. You can invest. You can do what you want. I mean, it's crazy to me.
And you don't have to work like an extra 40 hours over your standard wage to be able to achieve that. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Budgets.
Yeah, is that the... Go ahead.
Budgets in your life and in your business. You got to have, money's got to have a place where it's going. You get paid out. How much is going here? I think you guys talked about in the last podcast where all your dollars should have a place in the business, and then in what you pay yourself. It's the same. It's across the board, and you can't just raise your lifestyle and expect just because you make more money. Or like Johnny hates it. And sometimes when I get eBay sales, how eBay lets you, I don't know if it is over there, but in the US you can spend the money eBay's like going to pay you out, like you got spendable funds, right? And I'm like,
oh no,
we can't do that.
Yeah, so like if I sell a book for $50, it'll say like I got $40 I can go spend on eBay. And Johnny hates the fact that I'm like, I got $40. Let me see what's out there on eBay. So you can spend the money before they even pay you the money on eBay.
Bad.
That's bad. That's a slippery slope.
Yep.
But that's so good for eBay though. Like imagine if all our buyers had money on, and the choice was spend on eBay or just like Johnny. Majority of people are going to spend that because it's not real money. It's the same as we have like on Vinted in the UK. When you sell something, the money goes into like your wallet, and then you don't have to take it. So it's not really money, is it? It's like Monopoly.
They never had to pay you out. They kept all the money. They kept all of the money.
I know.
It's like
bad.
the psychology of just tap and go with your card. Like I hate doing that because it makes it feel like it's not real money.
I know that's
true.
But one of the other things that I really that kind of leans into that what you just said is that I'm also a big fan of not spending, and I'm also a big fan of trying to keep my lifestyle as bland and as boring as possible. I have kids, so they're a big expense to go with. But I really like what Johnny said in one of the podcasts as well about when you say you have to work harder, it doesn't mean you have to work more. Like, we can be so much smarter with a lot of the things we do, not just in our business, but in our lifestyle as well. Like, you not getting the truck just because it will be handy once every 3 months to have it, that you don't need it. I do car parts. I literally get pallets and pallets and pallets of car parts, and I still don't have a van. I mean, I'm going to have to get one now, but I've made it work this entire time because I'm the same. Like, it hurts to like.
So you both need this thing, though. That's where I'm going with it.
See, I don't
it's a
think
need, not a want. The Lamborghini over there, that's a want. The truck's functional.
I agree with Johnny.
But I would like that. Sorry, Sam.
No, I was just going to say that I would like to highlight that Hanley's a car part seller, and her check engine light has actually been on in her car the whole time I've known her, and she's not got it intended to.
My car is screwed. It's like a 2005 Nissan Serena. It's an import. It's got 8 seats. It's fab for a mom. But like sometimes it literally has seizures while I drive, and like the dashboard is like a disco. Like the lights just go like boom, boom the whole time while I drive. And then the exhaust has actually burnt a hole in the back bumper because it got hit by a rock and it turned up.
I'm concerned for your life.
So actually, about a week and a half ago, my husband has taken it off me, and I'm no longer allowed to drive it because it is a hazard. He did a few months ago buy me a car to use. It's just not as comfortable as that. Like that one's.
Then why are you driving the death machine?
Because it's like 8 seats. I have my mum with kids. It's so good on the inside. Like I love it. I absolutely love that car. So, but me too. I'm a big fan of not spending the money.
Sam, we'll take you on if Hanley over here ends up dying. So
Thanks, guys.
we got room on the podcast community for you.
Can we just do it at a more appropriate hour? It's like very early.
I love that. Oh,
sorry for throwing you under the bus, Hanley.
Oh man,
Literally.
I was going to say something so profound as well, and you just derailed it with like my junk machine. Now I look like the Flintstones, like got a hole in the floor. I'm like running my car, running.
It's just so funny because we're a car part seller.
He took it away from me. I don't have it anymore. I'm gonna get a new one like that, but I want the same one. But anyway, getting back to it, as we were talking about working better, smarter, doesn't always mean putting in longer hours. Yeah. And then another thing that I really took away, I think it was a podcast before that one, is you guys were talking about how a lot of us started reselling during the time of great uncertainty in the world, you know? And we were living for fast wins. Yeah. My entire eBay business was built during that time on fast wins. I would literally, as I'm listing my stuff, it goes ka-ching. You know that way you feel when
it didn't seem like it mattered what we listed during those couple of years. It didn't matter.
Junk, right? And it would just go. We were living in a world of fast wins. And what I'm having to learn now, and what I've really learned over the last year and a half, which is what I learn a lot in your podcast too, is that stability, building a stable business over building a fast win. A lot of resellers are finding it really hard, and they are going to see it into their reselling career because they're still trying to chase the fast wins. We're not in that era anymore.
That was a once in a lifetime, or once, maybe twice in a lifetime kind of thing. There might be certain days that are like that, but it's not years. Like we had back-to-back years of that.
Yeah.
Business. You could just throw it up on eBay and it would sell. You didn't have to have zero business sense. You could create an eBay account that day, list things around the house, and all of a sudden things are selling right away. Now that we're kind of into the, I like to say, the real side of reselling, you got to actually be able to run a business, and that's where a lot of people get jammed up. Anybody can be a reseller, but being a successful reseller when it comes to growing your bank account and kind of hitting your goals, that's a whole different conversation.
Because you can't rely on the fast wins anymore. Like right now, the fast wins are things that sell the same day to me. They're like outliers, and that's fab. I'll take the win. Okay, my business is now built on a stable income with a 6-month sell-through rate, and that's what I pay my bills and my savings out of. Like you cannot sit there and rely on just the bolos, like those are great, but you can't build a business off of them. And it's those type of people that are the ones that are complaining that eBay's dead, the platform's dead, or Amazon's struggling, because we've lost the sense of actual stability. We're chasing that high the whole time.
Right, but after so much time, like I gave it a good old college try for a year. It's like I got to either change what I'm selling,
Yeah.
or I have to change the platform I'm selling on, and I
Yeah.
chose the platform. It's the not being willing to adapt and or being stubborn, because I probably waited 6 months too long before making the switch, because I was determined to make it work again, forcing it to work. I was dialing all the fun little knobs I was able to dial on eBay, running tests, and it was not a waste of time. I confirmed that, yeah, I should have just switched. Yeah, I have confirmation now, but I should have just switched instead of trying to make it work. That was silly of me.
I got a question for you too, because we're in the U.S. and I'm not sure what it is over there at the op shops and the charity shops. So when it comes to competition, are they in competition with you? For example, we could sell a book and list it on Amazon, and there could be 30 Goodwills selling the same book. So our thrift stores now are direct competition to us over here as resellers in the US, and everything's picked over now. Like if you go donate something to the Goodwill, at least here in central Pennsylvania where I am, it doesn't go to the shelves of that Goodwill. They send it to a distribution center, which looks everything up, and then they disperse the junk back out to the stores. I'm curious if that's the same over in your two countries and kind of how you guys deal with that.
You want to go first, Hanley? Because I'm sure there's lots of car parts in op shops in the UK.
My charity shop is stuffed with them car parts. But I will tell you though that I see a lot of resellers like posting pictures and stuff where our charity shops will have actual signs on the stuff that says "Buy me now" on eBay, or they'll have this thing stapled onto it that says "Sells for this much" on eBay. So there are different, and there's quite a few charity shops who are now doing Whatnot.
Yeah,
like they're getting people in to sell their stuff on Whatnot. So in car parts, not so much, but I'm sure for Sam it'll be different.
Yeah. So Australia is really, really big, and where I live, there's no warehouses because there's only one op shop, charity shop, whatever you want to call it. So there's no viability to send everything that they get to a warehouse because the closest one is like 1,500 kilometers, which is around give or take 3,000 miles or a 2-day drive. So location is very dependent on how they operate, but each store is meant to have its own online eBay presence and its own website that they're meant to sell things through. So in the more built up cities, they actually same thing, same process. Everything that gets donated goes to a warehouse. It gets graded. There's ABC grades. C grades are meant to get exported overseas at a rate of 10 cents per kilo, which is incredibly low. And then they go to developing countries, and often they're then picked over and sent back in wholesale lots to wholesale suppliers, which I find very ironic. And then people pay a premium for them. But the A and B grades then get dispersed to different stores, and each store is only allowed to order a certain allocation of each amount. And then the rest gets listed on their online websites. So it's the same problem.
I just created my own thrift store, so problem solved.
I'd love to touch. Sorry, Sam, you go.
No, I was just going to say that I think the only way to kind of overcome it is to have more knowledge than them. So there's a kind of trend in the Aussie space that the managers watch YouTube videos, and that's how they get their Bolo brand lists and stuff like that. And it's like if they walked into any shopping center and just went, oh, that's a brand, or where they shop themselves, that's the sort of stuff that they're looking for. So if you can find those niche brands that are like underneath the surface of it all, or they're just new, they're just boutique brands, that's where the real actual money is.
I'd love to touch a bit more on like the sourcing, because you were talking earlier, Mike, about how you built the relationships, and that's something you would have done different. I know Sam does a lot of her sourcing through relationships. All my sourcing is through relationships. Like you said earlier, I looked at people doing charity shops and stuff, and that's not the life for me. With my kids in my life, I don't have that time of day to be doing that, and that's why I settled into the new car parts that I can do in bulk. But how do you establish those relationships? And not as in give us a how-to, but how do you think is the best way to establish those, and how does that help you grow your business? Because for me, it's completely changed what I do.
I'll go first since you kind of directed at me. Sorry, Johnny. I'll
That's
spill
the
the
rule
beans
change.
altogether.
Broke the rules.
Break the
Um,
rules.
I'm breaking the rules because it's so stupid and easy that everybody needs to know that it exists. So over in our group about 2 months ago, we came up with a little template that you could just email, right? So you go on Google thrift stores near me, everywhere you could get your inventory near me, and you make a little spreadsheet with all the email addresses, and you send a random email. Never even had a conversation with anybody before, and just saying that here's how much we pay for DVDs, CDs, books. Any extra donations, we'll make sure they don't wind up in the landfill. I sent out my first initial round because sometimes I gotta be the guinea pig on these things just to see if it works. And it was like 50-ish emails to different companies and thrift stores, and I got five bulk relationships just from cold emailing people. I didn't have to pick up a phone. I didn't have to have a conversation in the store. And once you have these relationships, that these are in perpetuity, right? Like as long as I live here and I'm alive, like I will always have this relationship if you treat people right. Something as simple as doing a cold email for people because I know a lot of people don't want to have conversations, or you feel weird because you got your Power Rangers ring when you're in the store. I get it, but you don't even have to. It's not that hard. You just have to think a little bit outside the box and put in a tiny smidge of effort. And I know Johnny's going to have a different spin here because he has an actual storefront and he gets deals to just walk through his front door.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, where'd you get that template from, Mike?
I don't know.
Okay.
I revised the template.
There was some modifications I noticed.
No, I got the table from you.
Yeah.
But I can't use Excel, dude. That's why I keep you around.
That's true. No, I mean, it's plays like that is just people think immediately people are going to say no. You'd be surprised how often they say yes. And even on a 1 out of 100 that says yes, like he said, it's recurring, it's repeatable, it's ongoing, permanent, more or less. Putting yourself out there, like look at both of our names. Everybody knows exactly what we do. We're in books, apparently. I make that known everywhere I go. I deal in books. So when somebody comes across books they don't know what to deal with, they call me if they're in Texas. They call him if they're wherever he lives at, some strange foreign land that's not Texas. It's effort, like he said. It's just plain and simple. What can I do to put forth effort that's going to yield me product or money? And that's the name of the game here. You get in what you put out. If you decide I'm just going to do the status quo my day to day every day, and you put no effort into acquiring and networking, more sourcing opportunities, that's a disservice to yourself and your business, because how are you going to grow if you don't expand?
It's not even, I mean, effort is an overstatement here. I think you can be absolutely clueless and make money selling media on Amazon. Like, I think you could have the IQ of a chimpanzee. I think if you could train a chimpanzee to scan items with a Bluetooth scanner, the chimp would make money on Amazon. That's how simple it is. And the effort of just copy and pasting the same email to different businesses, I mean, how lazy can we be? And why do we as resellers have to make it seem like it's such a slog and everything is so hard to do when it does not have to be this way?
And just a little bit more on this topic here. It's the name of the game is figuring out how the inventory comes to you. I mean, I have stuff that gets mailed to me in freight, even from relationships. And then other resellers mail me boxes of stuff they want to deal with that I love dealing in. And then I have the brick and mortar store, and that's just word of mouth locally. And then I can expand on that online to make them come. Again, it's all about come here. I don't care if it's in the mail, somebody gets in their car and comes here, or some other means, or I'm wheeling and dealing online. It all comes to me, and the time saved from that is wonderful. Now, not to say that building relationships by going out and about, which I've very much done, like I have recurring libraries to where I had to go to them to then get recurring business. Even places I get stuff from, I had to go to those far off places to establish the relationship. But once that groundwork's laid in place, I don't got a reason to really leave the warehouse here. Not really. Showers, maybe.
bring it up because I had a realization about a year and a half ago that actually at the core of everything I do, if my sourcing isn't scalable, my business isn't scalable.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us get trapped in little sourcing habits or little honey holes that keep us stagnant. Because we don't want to send the email. We don't want to phone people.
Yeah.
And I realized that I became stagnant because I had just enough, but that would be what I had. This was it for me. And if I don't find a way to scale the sourcing, I'm screwed.
I've gone to the opposite sides of the country to get stuff and establish relationships. Now I don't need to. Well, I need to, I guess. There's always room for more, right? But it's that initial groundwork. You got to build that road to yourself. You got to do that, honestly.
One of the things I've really taken away from your podcast is your effort to be able to reduce processes so you can get more out of your day, basically, is the best way to put it. So I would love to hear how, when you're building these relationships and getting all this inventory coming in, what you think is the most important thing to be able to process it so you don't end up with this huge death pile that becomes overwhelming and then you have to rent storage to be able to deal with the death pile.
Am I going first again?
You're back to number one.
I'm back to number one? Okay. I process it as soon as it comes in. I drop whatever I'm doing because processing stuff that's just arrived, it will sit if I don't. It will go in a corner. It'll go in a pile, like you mentioned. It'll get shoved in a corner because I want to focus on these other things. These other things are important, but that is a compounding problem, and I know this from experience. If I don't deal with it right away, I will not be very nice to myself. So I have to deal with it right away. I just drop whatever I'm doing, and that needs to be done.
For me, I realized pretty fast that there's no such thing as a free pickup because you're not factoring your time or the effort or the gas money or the mental calories you're going to spend dealing with a quote unquote free pickup. I see, because I'm out there in the YouTube, eBay world, and a lot of people are like, well, I got it for free. So sure, I can list it for $3, $5, $6. And we just get so caught up with this. Well, it's the same way with us. I scan it once, I make a decision right then and there. This book's either going to get donated or it's going to me and it's getting sent to Amazon. I don't play this game of keeping things around, trying 20 different platforms, starting a whatnot channel, doing all this nonsense. You pick a lane and you stay with it. And when it comes to these relationships and processes, I already said I don't want to work it. I don't want to work any more time than I got it. Like 20 hours, if I can get it down to 10, I'm in on 10, right? Like as little bit of time I can spend in the business, that's my goal. So you got to be efficient, and you're not going to be the greatest at the beginning, right? When you start something, of course, you're not going to be as quick as me. You're not going to be as quick as Johnny. If I get car parts dumped on me, guess what? It'll take me 1,000 times the amount of time it would Hanley here. You have to accept the fact that you're always going to be learning. And if you got it for free, just realize your time does matter. People give us crap on the podcast all the time. And Johnny, I love bringing it up. Your profit per hour, right? I mean, people don't want to talk about that because a lot of people don't make that much per hour. But it is important to understand, okay, this free pickup, I drove 1 hour to go fill the car up with books. I got to bring the books back, unload them, then I got to scan them, and then I got to get rid of all the ones we don't want, which is usually around 90%. So 90% of the car I unloaded now has to go back in the car and has to go somewhere else. It's all about just refining your processes and figuring out the quickest ways to get rid of this stuff. You don't got to squeeze every penny out of every single item. If it's not worth it and the trash guys will take it, put it in the trash. My trash guys don't take that much, so I got to take it to somewhere else to donate.
Yeah, I see that being a big problem here because then the shiny new free lot comes available and then you haven't finished dealing with the first shiny free lot, so then it just builds upon itself, and then all of a sudden you have literally a storage unit just full of unprocessed stuff, and then you have the burden of the pay that you have to pay to store it. And then it's like that monkey that sits on your back. So then you don't want to look at it. So then you want to go get another free lot so you can get the dopamine hit. And then, because you never know, it might be the $1,000 book in that lot. So I, as someone that has done that in the past, have to be, like Johnny, really strict with myself. I have to be able to stop, process the lot. And if I don't, it just becomes a massive burden. So I have to be really disciplined. And I think that comes with time.
I agree 100%. I wasn't doing that from the get-go. That's something I learned. I hurt myself, and then I decided not to hurt myself anymore.
I
I
think it
was
comes.
that person that sourced in the beginning. Like, it took me so long to learn this lesson. I would buy because I buy in lots, and then I'd have this mentality of like, this doesn't have a great sell through. It sells for only a couple of pounds, but if I list this, it brings my average cost of goods down. Never mind the fact that it's never going to sell, or even when it sells, I don't make a profit. Like, my mentality is just the more stuff I can list out of this lot, the lower my cost of goods are. And you
I
don't
mean,
even like, I didn't even realize. But that was in the beginning. It wasn't in the beginning, I'm lying. That was like pretty halfway through my
I
eBay
used to do
career.
book lots in the beginning. Total waste of time. I said it again on this podcast, not ours, Mike.
What do you mean by a book lot?
Taking the time to assemble a mishmash of books to lot together to then sell as one unit on the good old eBay machine. Total waste of time. Stop doing that, please.
Yeah, fair.
Why? I see quite a lot of booksellers do that.
Yeah, you do, don't you? And they haven't realized what I just said. A big waste of time.
Neither
think
have
it's
their bank
because-
accounts.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
I sell lots of car manuals, but I'll go take them down tomorrow. I'm sorry.
You get a pass. You're not really a bookseller. I think I broke this. That's great.
I'm just being mindful of what to say next.
Oh, she's trying to filter out what she wants to say. That's what's happening. She does that sometimes.
I do think there is opportunity, though, right? I'm not saying there's everybody that sells lots sucks. I'm sure there's people out there that sell just specifically lots, and I think Mel does a good job of it. She does lots of books, and that works for where she's at. I just think we get carried away. It takes us back to what we said earlier, is that, well, I'm busy today, Johnny, because I'm in my storage unit listing, romance novels that nobody's ever going to buy. But you think you're actually working in the business, right? You think you're being productive, but there's a million other things you could be doing instead of that low, if zero, like Holly was saying. You're probably going to lose money on a lot of the stuff you list just to list. So you feel like, well, I listed my 10 items today, and now I can go do nothing because I listed my 10 crappy items. It's backwards thinking.
Right. What I'm really talking about, and again, Mel again does good jobs with lots, is so again, you have 100 romance novels, you got 20 left over. Like, can I make a lot out of this? Oh, I'm missing this thing. Let me spend 10 minutes trying to find this one thing in another lot I'm going to buy anyway. Wasted time.
Yeah.
Mel, she knows what she's doing. She can figure it out, and then she has the space. Most book resellers do not have the space, so they inherit a problem. Doing book lots requires an extraordinary amount of space. She has an extraordinary amount of space, so she can do that. She gets a pass too.
But people don't just do that with books. Like, I
They
see
do.
that with everything. I see it in clothing. I see it in car parts. Like, random people will throw together 5 filters that are not even for the same car. And like,
Yeah.
oh, Bob, why would I buy 5 filters for 5 different cars I don't own? That's ridiculous. But it's not just, it's that mentality kind of like, if you're busy, you're making money, but you're not.
Yeah, my lots go out to the bookstore, and customers can assemble their own.
That's the good point. I see it with multi-quantity listings in Australia as well. So you might have like romance books as the genre, and then they just list a whole bunch of books within that to try and then, I guess, get those lower hanging fruits to be profitable, which may not necessarily yield the results that people are looking for. It's the same in clothes, though.
I have an opinion though that, like, I've come to see that the value of the stuff I list in the store and the value or the quality of the stuff I choose to spend my time on really reflects the quality of my business and what I think of myself. Like, honestly, if I'm going to sit there the whole day wasting my time on £5 items, then I deserve a £5 business.
Right. If you spend 30 minutes trying to make a book lot, what does that do to your profit per hour? There, I said it on this podcast too. Haha. It just drastically lowers it, because you could have gone through, I have a store customer, so you guys will have to carry the torch.
It's also, though, the carrying cost of that. So it's like, if you put it into a storage unit and the storage unit, say, $500 a month, and it's taking up, I don't know, a fifth of the storage unit because that's where you hold the books, then you need to be able to divide that number that you're paying by those items in there, and your cost of goods actually increases. So your net profit at the end of the day, in principle, comes down, and people don't factor that in.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing too, because I remember when I was an eBay seller, the last item I donated was this stupid pair of Dansko shoes. So Dansko's, back when I sold on eBay, used to be half decent. You could get 20 to 30, maybe even more, depending on the style. And every day I'd come in this apartment and the stupid Dansko shoes are staring me in the face. So it's like, it's not only I wasted my time listing this, I'm reminded of it every single day. And donating that as my last thing was like my biggest, greatest eBay moment was getting rid of those Dansko shoes. I was like, it don't even matter. Like, I should have just threw them out the window.
Yeah. I've had so many things like that in my store in the past. And every time I open the tub, I'm like, oh, that's right, I forgot about you. You got to shut that and like lock it down.
I was going to ask, what activity in your business or that you do every day makes you the most money? What do you think in your business is the activity that generates the most? Is it the sourcing? Is it the actual sending stuff to Amazon? Like, what's the most money making activity you have in your day?
Hacking an Amazon box, because I can make a sale as soon as the UPS man scans it, and it's when you're making boxes of, I don't know, $500 to $2,000 boxes, and then you have a portion of them sell on the way, and then even more sell when they get to the warehouse. I mean, that's the most profitable thing. I mean, there's something to be said for receiving inventory or getting inventory in the first place in order to do that, processing it. That is profitable as well. But sometimes stuff the non-barcode books, I guess should get mentioned here. Those are profitable items, but the barcode books you could just go through so much quicker, so your profit per hour is better in those than the harder to look up ones. Not that they're not worth doing, just goes down slightly. So I would say actually packing the box of material that you process is the most profitable thing you do.
It's the equivalent to YouTube listing every day, however many items it may be, is ours. For me, I try to tell everybody, send at least a single box every single week to Amazon, because just like in the eBay world, it exists in the Amazon world. People will go source, and it's so easy to list on Amazon. You can list a box of books or CDs or DVDs in like 20 minutes and have them boxed ready to go, but we'll still just let it sit here for weeks on time. And all I could say, and the excuse we get in the Amazon world is, well, it's not a full box. Well, who cares? Then get a smaller box and just send in the 20 instead of the 40 items.
I promise you, your mailing label doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not going to make or break you the pennies you're going to save just because the box is 30 pounds instead of 40 pounds. It's crazy to me that we sell on different platforms, and it's the same thing, just twisted a little bit different, and it exists everywhere. And it's just it's mentality and it's consistency. You got to send the stuff and sell the stuff to make it. So I would counter argue that the box is important, packing your box and sending it out, but actually pricing your items properly is just as important, because in Amazon we have software, and we can list 20 items, and the software will give you a price that it thinks it should sell at. And a lot of people just trust the software. I'm a proponent of every single item I list, I'm going to individually price. Sure, the software can be there to guide me along the way, but you got to price your items correctly. And just because me and Johnny are selling the same Sesame Street DVD, and he's got it listed for $100, well, the software will tell me to sell it at $99.99 because Johnny's selling it for $100. So if we undercut him by a penny, when in reality nobody's paying $99.99 for Sesame Street.
Sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Does Amazon? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that you can list anything for any price you want, but it doesn't mean it will sell.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does Amazon have a similar algorithm like eBay that feeds off consistency? Do you have to have the same type of consistency?
Not whatsoever. We're not slaves. No.
No, Johnny, you're lying. There
Am I lying, bro?
You are lying. There's something called being buy box eligible. So
that's
yes, it's the only thing that matters. We're going to drag you to the back room of the studio. You keep acting out here, buddy. All right. So buy box. When somebody goes on Amazon and hits buy now, it could be that's how, not over 95% of the sales on Amazon come through the buy box, which is the buy now button. So when you start selling on Amazon as a new seller, you are not buy box eligible. So when somebody hits buy it now, your items are never available to sell through the buy box. Now, there's no set algorithm. We can't sit here and say, here goes the 10 things you got to do to get buy box eligibility. It's different across the board. Some people get it in 2 weeks. Some people, we've seen people, it's taken over a year and a half to get the buy box.
Took me 6 months. Yeah,
so you literally get 10% of the sales you normally would if you had the buy box. And that's kind of the hurdle a lot of new Amazon sellers hit, is you don't get the results, but then when you get the buy box, you see it overnight, you're jumping sales, and then you kind of get a real picture of the business. And the way you keep the buy box is you have to be consistently sending items in the category you sell in. So I sell, CDs, DVDs, books. Well, every single week in my boxes, there's got to be some CDs, DVDs, and books. There can't be a single week where I don't have something from each category in the box. Now, if you go too long, Amazon will say, well, no more buy box for you. And then you got to play the game of God knows how long to get the buy box back, and you lose 90% of your sales. Amazon does punish you if you don't have the buy box. It is a whole different ball game compared to when you do.
So in that regard, you're 100% correct. However, you could skip a day by not sending a box. Unlike eBay, maybe you can get skipped 1 day, maybe 2. You're going to see it after 1 day, honestly. Amazon, you're not going to see it that way. Amazon, I don't know. What do you think? 2 weeks, a month before they start to, you're flirting with danger there? Month, yeah.
Oh, wow. That
so
much
sounds
better.
Amazing.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I love it.
That sounds like, honestly, that's one of the things that irks me the most about eBay, is this like the daily, every day. And I know it's good for me as a human being as well to be able to be consistent, but I feel like I'm a bit of an eBay prisoner sometimes. Because
no, you absolutely are.
It's absolutely instant. If I don't list today, by tomorrow afternoon, I'm red.
Right, and because of the month delay, if I want to take a week off, I can. I can't do that with eBay. I still have to at least press the launch listing buttons on my phone every day, unless I'm willing to eat it and have a recovery period. But Mike is right. If you go the month and lose it, trying to get it back and that hurts everything. You can't, just like on eBay, you can't really do that. You can. It's just not advised.
So you reckon it's roughly a 6 month process to be able to get the buy box, just for the people that are starting?
No, it really varies. We've had people do it within 3 days. Me, it took 6 months. Okay. Other guys, it took over, what was the longest we've heard of so far? A year and a half?
20 months.
20 months right there.
Wow.
Average, I think it may be 6 months. I don't know. Do you have an average, Mike?
I don't think it is. When I first started selling CDs and DVDs, it took me about 6 months to get it, and I was consistently sending in those items every single week.
Wow, that is like a slow grind to be able to earn the trust of the platform. I can see why people would jump off if that's the case.
Right, they're sending in, they bought money, they're spending money even to send it in, and all the fees, they're making very few sales. It's hard to stay the course on that, but the reward is there once it happens, so much so.
I would like to ask a selfish question. So in your last podcast, obviously, Johnny, you were talking about processes, same as you, Mike, and how refining those has been the most important part of your business to be able to grow and not be able to work so much. I would love to hear how you go about refining those processes. As Hamley and I are both growing at the moment, I don't want to have to increase my work time, so I would love to hear how you guys do that, whether it's mindset or taking a step outside your business, recording yourself, whatever it is.
It's doing the hardest task first and getting that out of the way the first thing. It used to be getting the eBay listings out of the way first. Now it's processing inventory, because packing boxes, I think, is the easiest part. Well, one of the easier parts to do. So it's processing the raw material now, I would say, is the hardest part. And then how you look at a process, what's slowing me down? Why is this taking so long? Constantly thinking of that. This should be a 5-minute task. Why is it taking me 15 minutes? What's going wrong here? Is there a tool out there? I'm doing something manual. Is there a tool to help speed me along to cut my workflow in half? Well, I want that tool now. I need to get that tool. I need to save time so I can process more to make more money. That's how I look at things constantly. What needs to be tweaked, what needs to be gotten, and just to make my quality of work life better.
Sitting under me here on the podcast right now, having an inner circle, whether it's somebody in the same category or not. If I have some crazy idea or Johnny has this huge breakthrough, like we kind of are in communication, all day, every day. If we have some breakthrough, then we kind of share, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is working. And I can't say it enough, like, by no means necessary. I have there's a lot of people that I have in the group that sell a lot more money than I do. And I'm happy. Make as much money as you possibly can, right? We all have different, amounts we want to make and how much time we want to spend in the business. So I'm always curious, like seeing what other people are doing, like picking other people's brain, like, hey, how you doing this? Oh, you just got this whole carload. You process it in an hour. Like, what exactly did you do? And that's why kind of me and Johnny get along so well, is because we're almost opposites in the business. He loves being in the business all day, every day. He's got a storefront, a warehouse. I'm the opposite. I'm out at the thrift stores. I want to get back as much time as I can. So having somebody like that's kind of your opposite, but also takes the business seriously. Now, I will say it's a slippery slope. If you start listening to what everybody's saying around you, you're going to lose your mind and your business is not going to function. So vet the advice you're taking, because there's a lot of bad advice out there. But having somebody in your corner, or somebody you can shoot a message to and be like, hey, I'm gonna do more of my business. What are you doing? If I see Hanli's doing more listings, like, hey, how are you doing an extra 10 listings a day? Like, what's going on here? Where are you pulling this time out of your hat? Then that's where you can say, all right, I'm going to try this out, take a piece of somebody else's business and see if it fits for you. Not everything will fit, but you'll learn a lot. I learned so much from processing just from Johnny alone.
Right. And Mike does counterbalance me as well. I'm very intense and focused and concentrated. And, well, Mike, you caused me to ease up a little bit. So there you go.
I would never say that about Henry.
Like, Sam just complains all the time about me, like all the time. All she does is complain. Today, I put a story up on Instagram and I said, what's the hardest part of reselling? And she replied and she said, you. But
It is.
Wow. Shots fired.
See, I'm a good thing, Sam. Embrace it. I'm not going away till YouTube do us part. Okay, you stuck with me. Two things to sign us off. Firstly, every single time I talk to someone about selling on Amazon, they give me the same story, right? And I want to know if this is true. They always know someone's aunt, uncle's, ex-husband's, cousin's, dog's babysitter who made $1 million on Amazon. Then Amazon asked for invoices and Amazon stole their supplier. Is that real? Like, does that happen?
I mean, they will ask you for an invoice if you're selling new items, and if you're indeed not selling new items, they will show you the door. That's a thing. As far as the specific example you gave, I don't know. You know about that, Mike?
I think Amazon used to be heavily into their own branded items, and they kind of moved away from it. So like they would see, Johnny's selling this book light and it's taken off. Well, then they'll go knock it off and sell the Amazon brand and promote their own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it does exist out there, and especially, some of these people, some of these, single people businesses are doing millions and millions of dollars. And at the end of the day, the platform you sell on, Amazon, like they are in competition with you as well, because we sell a lot of used goods and Amazon will be selling the book themselves as new condition, right? So we're selling used and we're actually competing against Amazon. So I do think there is truth to that. A lot of the horror stories are true. I mean, we joked about it all the time when we had Tech on the podcast. He got banned off Amazon for selling a new board game. These things do happen. So there is a risk with any type of reselling business, and you just have to be willing to mitigate the risk as much as you can. A big thing in our space is textbooks, because textbooks sell for a lot of money because college kids pay exuberant amounts of money. Well, there's also an increased risk when it comes to selling textbooks. So for me, I decided the beginning of the year, I'm not going to sell textbooks on Amazon anymore, because this is my business. I don't want to lose my livelihood because of one single item. Sure, it might be an $80, $100 item, but is that worth your six-figure business at the end of the day? It's not even close. It shouldn't even be up for discussion. So I just try to mitigate that risk. There is a lot of things, Amazon does that you can't control, unfortunately. Like if they ask for an invoice for the item we bought from the thrift store, they're not going to take the Goodwill receipt that just says books for $2.99, right? That's not going to suffice in Amazon land. And you can, now there are things within Amazon where you have a little bit more safety net. They have a program where if you have a certain sell through, they'll give you an account health specialist. So they won't just show up and can you instantly. But this will never be achieved by somebody that's part-time. You got to be selling thousands and thousands of units every 6 months to even qualify for this program. So unfortunately, there are horror stories out there, and they are true, where people lose their livelihoods over one single textbook. They could have 5,000 items sitting there, and whatever money you have sitting at Amazon, they take that as well. So you're cut off. They keep your money. they'll keep your inventory, and yeah, it
I thought
exists.
they
And
tried to sell you back your inventory, or foot the bill for the shipping at least.
if it's counterfeit, they destroy it.
Ah,
If
Oh.
they ban you for other reasons, they will charge you a removal fee for
yeah,
every
it comes
single
back
item.
to you.
So like if Johnny got banned and they decided, oh, we're going to send him his 20,000 items back and I charge him $3 per item,
I'm gonna get an overdraft fee.
that's coming right out of the bank account. So it is a little scary when you think about it, but there are ways you can mitigate your risk in this, and that's kind of, I don't do the big flashy things a lot of people do to kind of push these numbers, but I'm more safety oriented when it comes to my business because it's worth more to me than just chasing a one-off flip or making $1,000. Hell, even $10,000-$50,000 on an item. If I lose my account, how much money am I losing? The next
Future
10 years
sales.
of me selling.
Yeah. And I don't to round this off, I don't know if you know this, Sam, but me and Sam are in a competition for the year. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but did you know that Johnny put his beard up as collateral for our
Yeah.
competition?
No.
If I win, he has to shave his beard off. Because
Oh.
he's betting against me.
I did.
Oh, that is so tempting to just like
Don't
So
let me
if
down, Seth.
you just want to go on a 4-month holiday so we can see him shave his beard, that would be great.
I'm more than happy to sacrifice that. That's
What? No.
Who did you bet on, Johnny?
I think it was you actually. Because of the
Yes.
hype of tech.
Yes.
So,
It wasn't Tom
No.
or Mel,
No.
Mandy, everyone else who jumped in
Mandy
on it.
wanted it more. It would have been her.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm so keen on your beard going. I've never
I
seen you
know.
without it.
So you guys have to come back though. When I win, you have to come back. And we'd love to have you guys back more often as well. Like, it's been really great having you guys on.
Yeah.
We really appreciate hopping on and having a conversation. Do you have any last thoughts for our viewers or advice or tips you want to share?
I'm going first again, aren't I? So, in the spirit of going first, let's put as much as we can into our business and make as much money as possible. And that requires you figuring out your processes, your cost of goods, the whole shebang. How do you make as much money before you hang up your shingle or hat at the end of the day? That's the best advice I can give you.
Johnny shave his beard.
It's this close. It's this close.
I got him in July. Who could do more in sales? And he beat me by $300 measly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Still one.
But yeah,
I didn't try. Mike tried.
I tried. I tried really hard, but I got faith. It'll be going one way or another, dude. It's not
I
going
got
to
a
be
bet
here.
going with Josh. Everybody wants my beard.
Yeah, it'll be going. But I agree with Johnny. The reselling is such a great opportunity that we just take advantage of, right? We don't realize the possibility of us sitting here having full-time businesses, and we can just sit down here and run our mouths for however we could go for another 5 hours if we wanted to, and our businesses still make us money. We're asleep, there's still money coming in. There's no better opportunity. So take advantage of it today, whether that's eBay. If you're scared of Amazon, it's not as scary as people make it out to be. I promise you. There's opportunity no matter what platform you sell on. You want to start selling on Bonanza and be the best Bonanza seller, then 100% go for it. There's just opportunity everywhere in this business. And don't feel like you're cornered in or that nobody's cheering for you. And you see the negative talks going about Amazon fees and eBay turned me off today. No, because right here we got two people sitting that crush eBay every single day. So, and reach out to we're all accessible. That's the big thing here. Like, you can message anybody in the reselling space and you're going to get a straight answer. That didn't exist 5-10 years ago. You kind of were on your own, but now we're in a game where all the information is out there. One simple message to anybody and you're going to get the answer you're looking for and an answer that might surprise you. And we're all transparent about everything we do.
And I may give you the answer you don't want to hear.
That's true.
You are a truth talker, Johnny.
I
I
love that.
appreciate
I love
that.
your podcast and that you guys are so honest and so truthful about it. I think it's very refreshing. It's nice to hear a podcast where people who are actually doing it are giving you the straight answers. I'm very much I like straight answers type of person. I know that's not for everyone, but I would rather you have it short and sweet and just give me what I need to know and I can move on with my day. That's just the type of person I am. But they have an amazing podcast. We're going to tag it below, link it below, the socials as well. Please go check them out. And Sam's going to take us out.
Oh, I would just like to thank both of you for joining us today. It's been really wonderful. I would like to do it again, and if we could do it again just at a slightly later time slot, that'd be great. Because it was like 4:00 in the morning for me, and I am not a morning person.
We should go around it.
Sam is very quiet.
Yeah, because my brain's not on. I've had 2 coffees and I'm still not awake.
I like it. I think this should be our usual podcast time.
What time is it for everybody? Let's go around the table here.
It is 10:15 at night.
It is 6:15 for me. 6:15 a.m.
4:11 p.m.
5:11 p.m. So we are all over the place here.
Huh?
But
That's
look
pretty
at us.
unique.
4 people, 4 different time zones, 3 different continents, all making money, doing the same thing, slightly tweaked in a different way. Like, there is literally no excuse.
Nope, we're all consistent.
Well, and there's no scarcity of sales. Like, you have
Right.
4 people in 4 different places and they're all making money to pay their bills. Like, what better world do we live in? Like, that's like 10 years ago, this didn't really exist. Crazy. Anyway, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. If you would like to like, comment, subscribe, feel free to give these guys a subscribe as well. I've really enjoyed their podcast. And if you would like to sign up for Mike's YouTube membership, you get access to him all day, every day. So if you want to hassle
Honor
him,
him, not me. That's right.
and we'll have them back with Johnny's beard immortalized in maybe like a shrine type thing.
Oh my god.
Little glass jar. There's my remnants of my beard. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.